had to learn how to play my best when I didn't feel it, when I, couldn't hit that certain angle today, or I can't serve that certain ball. Like, that's not flow at all. But guess what? You're in the game and you have to win. So I've learned to have a friendly relationship with flow where if it decides to come, awesome, I'll take advantage of it. But if it doesn't, like, I'll take care of it still. So
This episode is brought to you by West Coast Beach, a year-round beach volleyball club on the west side of Los Angeles in Santa Monica, California. At West Coast Beach, we aim to get 1% better every day, both on and off the court. You can find more info about us at westcoastvbc.com and on Instagram with handle at westcoastvbc. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Within the Game podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Wexler, and this episode is with AVP Pro Beach Volleyball player and 2021 Olympic hopeful for Team Canada, Brandie Wilkerson. Brandie's a 3-time winner on the international tour, and she's currently sitting in the number 1 spot for Canada in the 2021 Olympic qualifying race with partner Heather Bansley. She was also recognized as the best blocker in the world in 2018. In this episode, we talk about being in the flow, how she finds inspiration through art and nature, and how she tries to stay unconditionally inspired. Brandie inspires me not only because of her accomplishments within the game, but because of the way she approaches training and the way that she carries herself with light and kindness. I hope you enjoy this episode, and please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Thanks. All right, I'm here with Brandie Wilkerson. Brandie, thank you so much for being here.
thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, Brandie, you're awesome. Here's your bio. It's freaking awesome. All right, you're born in Switzerland. You moved to Canada at 7 years old. You're a 4-time All-Star opposite at York University, a 5-time Pro Beach Volleyball Tour winner, winning on the FIVB Tour, the Norseca, and P1440 tours. You achieved world ranking number 1 in 2018 with partner Heather Bansley. You won an FIVB World's Best Blocker in 2018. You're currently ranked 16th in the world with Heather as you enter the 2021 Olympics in Tokyo for Team Canada. And you appeared in the finals of the AVP Monster Hydro Cup last weekend. And you got top performer with 14 blocks and 17 aces with Sarah Hughes. And you're currently the 2nd seed heading into the AVP Wilson Cup this weekend with Sarah. You are an inspiration and you're an awesome player. And again, Brandie, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, thank you for that intro. I was like, who are you talking about? No, thank
you.
you.
Okay, let's jump right in. So, Brandie, what does living an inspired life mean to you?
Oh man, I love it. We're just jumping right in. I think it's funny because initially when I hear an inspired life, I was thinking of like an aspiration towards something in a transition on very moving towards something way. But I've realized that I find my inspiration in the day-to-day, in the present moments, in the mundane. That has brought me a lot of fulfillment and peace that way. So I think that is where I find myself living an inspired life, I guess.
I love that. I love that. You know, I asked you to be on the podcast and being part of this project because, you know, you don't just inspire me and other people for your athletic ability, but just kind of the way you carry yourself and just the way you choose to operate. You know, I mean, where does that come from?
Oh man, you know what? I can't honestly take credit for all of that. I think I've learned through a lot of like observation, self-reflection, and listening. But I genuinely think that people's opinions of me, and whether they be really bad, and I've chosen to not take that on and just let that be a reflection of themselves, just like the good. I think it's just a reflection of people who are finding goodness within themselves and can see it in someone else. So I kind of feel just more like a vessel of people and I just want to make it as easy as possible for them to see the good in people always and in themselves. So yeah, I think it's just like this working relationship with my environment, with my place in this world, with my place in people's lives. And yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love that. I mean, the idea of being a vessel, allowing energy to move through you and inspiration to move through you. I mean, I think that's what it's all about too. You know, I aspire to be like that as well. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this whole project is about, staying inspired in the game and when you're away from the game. So, when I watch you play and train, I can tell that you're inspired. You love what you're doing. What about when you're away from the game? How do you stay inspired?
I think it's everything that I have going on outside of the game that keeps me inspired within. Just because the point of competition in sports in those kind of environments is very competitive. It can be aggressive. They put you in very challenging situations, and it's great to love that. But we can't honestly all say like I'm going to feel my best in those moments. So it's everything that grounds me outside of sport, whether it's my family that inspires me every day, my work ethic, or just my wanting to build myself up and self growth, and finding it in anything that I do. So sport is just one aspect of my life versus my entire life and what I live and die off of. So I try and even that playing field out so that you find kind of the beauty in everything.
Yeah, yeah. And you've obviously thrived during this pandemic, this crazy COVID stuff, because of your results, and your game is just showing it. And so, how'd you do that? How do you continue to do that? And what advice or tools do you have for others?
Oh man. That's funny. I mean, yeah, the results definitely would show that I had thrived, but COVID had not been easy for me. I think it was obviously extremely tough to have everything you had planned for this year go exactly not that at all. And then there's been so much going on in the social political world that has affected me deeply. So it felt like there was a lot of self reflection that needed to happen, and even taking a moment away from sport and stepping back and realizing what's important to me and why I do things. And I think that has always been the motivator, is understanding why it is I'm playing volleyball, why it is I'm choosing to wake up this early, or why I'm going to this tournament even though I haven't trained very much, and why do I think I have a chance, like why am I confident, and all those things. So just grounding yourself there. And so that would be my advice too, because that's the only thing that kind of helped me get out there and be like, you know what, I know I'm not feeling my best right now, but this is what I have, and let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's bring it back to training a little bit, because I know you've had to prepare for these tournaments recently. So how do you stay inspired in practice? Because practice is kind of tricky, and I've been at some of your practices lately. Not lately, but before. And it,
The old days.
yeah, yeah, those are fun with Coach Evie. Shout out Coach Everett Matthews.
Love his energy.
Yeah, how do you
Wow.
stay inspired? Yeah, where does that come from in the middle of training?
You know what? That is one of the aspects of sport that I still struggle with, is finding inspiration in sport. I'm not going to pretend to say I ever was that athlete that loved practicing. I actually hate practicing, and I love competing. So I'm just like, how do we get over this part and go straight to the game? Like 17 all, put me out there. But there's again, it's just reflecting back on the beauty of the mundane, the beauty of like having that foundation. Like I'm going to say those words over and over again, but that's the only thing that helps you when things are out of control and out of your personal control. I've learned work ethic has proven to overcome any kind of physical, or my height. I'm not like a 6'5" blocker, so I have to put in that extra work. I have to put in those details. I started super late, so it's just that eagerness to want to catch up with everyone that's had way more hours than me, as well as being surrounded by people who genuinely work so hard all the time, and being inspired by that same person that's showing up next to me, that coach that's putting in his love and passion, and respecting that, by putting my all in the practice too.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard you talk about gratitude before in some other interviews, and I know that you're just a grateful person in general, but that, I think, to me, like, that's the number one tool to implement kind of in everyday life. I mean, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's like the core thing. That's what I've narrowed it down to, at least for my personal life. So I agree for sure.
Totally. And so just staying in that practice or the training, just mentality for a second, if you're really grateful and you're just like soaking all that in, but you're still just like, I don't know, just flat, and uninspired. Maybe, it has something to do with something outside of the game, other than gratitude. What's like another tool that you could implement in that moment to get you back into an inspired place?
Um, for me, I think competition. It's healthy. I think it's setting that bar and that standard high, not just for the competitors that you may face in the future, but for yourself. And obviously, you set that goal. You have certain things you want to accomplish, or whether it's just a skill you want to get right in that moment. That goal is very small, but you need to be competitive enough to care about that and beat that, whether it's a game in your own head or someone's actually keeping score and there's a team on the other side. So I think that'd be a flip side of gratitude.
Yeah, no, for sure. This whole project is trying to offer these tools, because I didn't really learn these tools growing up and playing game. I had to kind of like figure it out. And I don't know if I would say I was inspired all the time, but I think for me, like that's the goal. Winning is great. Losing is a kind of a tool to help you keep winning, I think. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but I think like this project, this idea of like how to stay inspired, I think it's just so important for like specifically youth athletes, any athletes really, or coaches, but specifically youth. So could you talk a little bit about a game? I know you've been in some big games, specifically world champs and even on
Mhm.
NBC last weekend on the AVP finals. So when you're in those moments, and you somehow slip a little bit, maybe you're thinking about something else, how do you snap right back in?
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like I do slip in those moments sometimes. As much as you prepare for that moment and you think you have everything down, and it's come to realizing that that's happening and not denying it and just coming to face with it. I had a moment before a game where I was like, I just said it out loud, and I was like, I am in my head right now. Like we hadn't even stepped on the court yet, and my coach was like, good, say it out loud. Then you know it's happening and you're not pretending it's not there. And that's with anything, whether it's that personal dialogue or you just have the blessing to say it to someone that understands you. But noticing it, being aware of it, facing it, and then having those cues. So for me, it's I'm very like a hands-on person. So sometimes I have to grab sand and like remember the texture of sand, just something to take the mind off. Or sometimes I have to look up because sometimes we're always looking down and we're like in our space and then just opening that up. Or breathing is huge. That changes everything in your body. So just having those little go-tos that are not just like what you can say, because sometimes you're just not in the mood, so you need to do something else.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's great. You mentioned like a little bit of self-talk. Could you give us a glimpse of your self-talk? It doesn't have to be all that specific, but I've asked all the guests that are on the show about self-talk because it's really important. It's like what the story that you tell yourself.
Mhm.
What does that
Mhm.
look like for you?
It's very similar to what I had mentioned there, with just realizing, being aware of what's going on, and then um, giving yourself that freedom and that ability to just let go and have that word. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but sometimes I just have to like thinking and I'm like, okay, I have to do this technically. I gotta fix this for next one. And then at some points I'm just like, fuck it. And I just like have to let go and then just play, right? So that's where my self-talk goes. And then also just visualizing what it is I want and what that win will look like and how I'll feel in that moment, and seeing that moment in every detail as possible so that it becomes familiar when it actually comes. So it's a combo of both, I think.
That's cool. No, I hear you on that. And talk to me a little bit about stoppage time. Within any game, there's so much stoppage time. And I know
Mhm.
that you're a tennis player, and I am too. I love tennis.
Are you really good?
No, I'm not really good. But it was my first sport actually, and I love
What?
tennis. But you know, there's a big similarity in that stoppage time, right? Like a point's done, and then you got to like set up. and for the next one. So could you talk a little bit about how you manage that stoppage time? And specifically, it's this, right? Let's say there's 10 seconds. Are you reflecting on the last
Mhm.
play? Are you visualizing the next play? Are you staying right here, right now? Is it a combination of all that?
I think immediately it's a combination of all that, but I have to make a mental effort to prioritize what it is that's going on. So it's for me, I tune out of, like sometimes you don't hear the crowd and whatever, you're so zoned in, but you can't be zoned in for a whole hour of the game. So I give myself a time to tune out, whatever, like check out my surroundings, be fine, take a breath, and then as much as I'm like, okay, what's the next play? So I'm aware of what we're going into. I have to be like, well, what's the first thing I need to do? It's I need to grab this ball, get in my routine, hold it up, and it's usually, you're gonna serve, and then everything's quiet, and it's like, yeah, I get I have to serve and then run up there and then do this move, but right now I have to make sure my hand contacts the ball properly. So it's just kind of like going really, really specific as to what my purpose is in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the crowd since you just mentioned it? I want to ask you about managing yourself in a big crowd. Let's say, where was World Champs? Was that Hamburg?
Yeah,
Was
Hamburg,
that
that's huge,
was a
right?
big
Yeah.
crowd, right? Like how do you manage that other than feeding off it? I get that part, like it's the adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
say I have a feeling they weren't rooting for you guys there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We were playing against Germany and
Right.
winning, so they were stoked about it. And we've had crowds be like dead silent because we're playing the home team. And like you said, I am one of those players that feed off of it, so I will notice when nothing is being said. But for me, it's just connecting with my partner. And sometimes we literally have to be like, it's me and you.
Right.
Knowing that that's where that support is going to come from, and you don't really need to have it outside, and there's just so much on the line within that square space that even if we're playing these AVPs now with absolutely no fans, the intensity is there as if I was in the middle of the main court in Hamburg. So just choosing to only use it as benefit but not relying on it at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the AVPs for a second, because I've never seen an AVP like these before. Obviously, the times are different, but no
Yeah.
crowds at all. I mean, just talk a little bit, just as a fan. Let's say there's a fan out there that wants to know about how you deal with that. What is that like?
Yeah. It was interesting. It's hard to ever prepare for something like that. We've all never been through like that, but there was a big curiosity for me to see, what that would feel like. Luckily, like I said, we were just all so grateful to be playing in the sand. I think in this circumstance, it works because there's so many people messaging, live streaming. It really felt the support. While the finals didn't really feel like a finals, there was just that sense of importance and competitiveness that never changed. If this is like the new normal forever and this is how it, and like you'll have to ask me again, like I think I would have to really manage that differently, but for now I'm just happy to be out there and just trying to put on a show.
Yeah, well, you definitely are. It's fun to watch you play. Can we shift and talk a little bit about emotional management? Again, this project is about the tools, so like, you know, I think most high, and you can agree or disagree, but I think most high level athletes like yourself are able to manage their emotions, like not too high, not too low. And whether something happens great or maybe something that doesn't work out, it's still like that management, right? So what are
Right.
some tools to help you with that?
um Yeah, it's definitely management, but it's also like a routine, rehearsed, cue. When something goes wrong at practice, you have a certain reaction. You practice that reaction like you would in a game, and I need to get to game point. You can't be so calm, calm, calm. You have to fire it up. It's like certain reactions to certain circumstances that you practice in your daily life, and especially when you're actually training. So it feels very rehearsed by the time you get to the game, and it's not something you have to think about. And then it's also a lot of compartmentalization in terms of, what you're feeling about yourself versus what's going on versus what you need to do versus your partner, and just understanding when you need to draw from each, bucket.
Well
Yeah.
said. Let's talk about partner for a second, because beach volleyball is such you have your partner, right? And it's such a team sport with your partner. Emotionally though, how do you best support your partner to be the best team you can be?
Mm-hmm. Emotionally, it's interesting because when I first started beach volleyball, I always thought like, yeah, having that emotional connection with your partner was like a bonus. Like, it's okay if I don't like you, but if you do your job, we'll be fine.
Sure.
But I think there is a little bit extra, energy when you can really trust that partner. And I think that's where that emotional connection will come from, less so like I like you and we're going to be friends. So that trust, I think, comes from owning up to your responsibilities, owning up to your mistakes and the things you've done well, and being able to have honest, frank, open conversations about things. And also, I think for me personally, I thrive on seeing my partner at their best and putting them in the best position and understanding if they're doing great, I'm doing great. So, to set them up for success
Yeah.
like they would for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Being the best partner you could be, I feel like is like kind of the goal for a beach volleyball player, because I feel like people don't serve you that much. I feel like you're setting quite a bit, and so maybe like you're thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe you're thinking like, let's say your partner's getting served over and over and over again. I know you have to be ready for serve receive just in case they sneak one
Yeah.
over to you, but are you just kind of super locked in on where that set, where they want that set and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I am absolutely locked in on, how I can make this easy for
Yeah,
them,
I
because
like that.
I am very, empathetic to the fact that getting served the whole game, even if you're lights out, it's not
Tough.
easy at
Yeah.
all. And, I can't blame them, and it's not their responsibility to score every single point. The responsibility is, how did I help them? Like, where was my job? Did I make those blocks? Did I get those aces? Did I put them in the right sets? And so that's where am I hitting those two balls like I
Right.
use? But yeah, definitely that's where my head's at. But also I have to look up myself, because if it does come to me, how am I helping them by not having my shit together? So uh, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. Even if you're not getting served, there's still a lot.
Let's Brandie, let's talk about flow. Can you
Okay.
identify when you are in the game, in the flow, or in the zone, or locked in?
Yeah, I definitely can tell like when it hits. Yeah.
What does that feel
It's
like?
wonderful. Oh, I'm like an addict. I love that stuff. But I also say I'm like an addict because, you can't have it all the time. And that's what I've kind of learned recently. I used to just like, how do I get in flow? How do I get there? That I know once I'm in flow, it's going to be great. But you just don't, it's a luxury that I was trying to abuse. And I had to learn how to play my best when I didn't feel it, when I, couldn't hit that certain angle today, or I can't serve that certain ball. Like, that's not flow at all. But guess what? You're in the game and you have to win. So I've learned to have a friendly relationship with flow, where if it decides to come, awesome, I'll take advantage of it. But if it doesn't, like, I'll take care of it still. So it's
That
been
I
a
love
growing.
that. I think that's great. I think that's I think that's the right approach. Um, I've been asking a lot of champions this question too, and is it possible to practice it? Like
Mhm.
I know you said that it just kind of comes and you allow it to come, and that's great, and I really do like that. But when it does come, let's say in practice, or in training, because sometimes that happens, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes in practice, right? So when it comes and you feel it and you're feeling unstoppable, can you bank it?
I don't know. I have not figured out the riddle to control flow, but I do understand the step before it, and I think it's just focus. And managing those distractions. And distractions isn't literally like, oh, a ball came in the court and now you have to have this weird timeout. It's just like, what are the thoughts flowing around? What are the other things you're paying attention to or not paying attention to? The very small details that are distractions, that's all they are. So just having that high level of focus will get you, I think, closer and closer to that state of flow.
That's awesome. And just staying on that for a second, can you carry that over to like everyday life? Can you take that feeling and like transcend it?
Yeah, I mean, I have always had a very creative background and side of me. And I feel like I can get into states of flow and freedom and, subconsciousness in that creative way, whatever that may look like for people. For me, it's more like painting and music and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you can definitely see it in all parts of your life. It's
Cool.
fun.
Cool. I agree. And it's great to hear that from you because especially, can you just talk a little bit about like the state of the world right now? It's pretty weird, right? But
Yeah.
I feel like this, and this is just something that came up recently. We all have our, okay, we all have our attention that
Okay.
if we could think about it as a flashlight, we get to choose where to push that, like put that flashlight, right? A lot of people have this
Mm-hmm.
broad light that just kind of goes out and we see a lot of stuff, but focused athletes and high level athletes like yourself have this tunnel vision, right? So does that resonate with you, that idea of a flashlight?
I hear that. I mean, you quickly mentioned the state of the world, and I mean, people are absolutely overwhelmed when you start broadening that. And it's not, I don't think it's incorrect or coming from a bad place when you want to know as much as you can and you're trying to get a little bit of everything, but it's also draining. And what help or service could you do when you're absolutely done, like as a person? So I had to kind of manage that, especially during COVID. We're all stuck in our houses, and all we could do was just find out about everything tragic going on in the world. And it was heavy for me. It was heavy. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, narrow this down. What can I do about it? What are the steps I'm taking to change this? And just keep it practical and in my world. I'm well aware of what's going on. There's nothing wrong with being aware, but like to just soak that in every day, it's exhausting for sure. So you
Right.
have to find that balance for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like it's a challenge for a lot of people. And the more we can talk about it and hear about it from people like yourself that are I don't know, living, I feel like you're living in your version of an inspired life, and at least playing
Yeah.
inspired, I mean, I feel like the more we can hear about it from people like you, I think it's better because we can relate. And that was something
Mm,
else that I wanted to run by you. That's something that came up recently for me, going back to the state of the world and like the racism stuff and all that. Um, Listening is kind of a huge core value that I think we all need to get a little better at. Um,
yes.
but I heard something, and I'm going to tell you, and I want to know if you resonate with it. It was listen to relate, not to react.
Mm,
Does that resonate
I,
with
like,
you?
I feel that. I feel that. I like it.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like we
It's,
react all the time, I mean, and it's kind of different in sports, right? Because we're supposed to react, right? We want to react like that. But again, this project is about taking that inspired feeling from sport and transcending it into daily life. And I feel like leaders, I would consider you a leader. Um, we need to do a better job of relating, not just listening and reacting, but relating, and it's a practice. I'm not saying I'm a master at that at all, but I'm saying that, like you talked about awareness, I think being aware that we have the ability to relate to each other, I think we could put a little bit more focus on that.
absolutely. I really do love that. And I think people will hear like react and think it's coming with negative intention, and you can react with a positive intention. You're trying to help, you're just like, oh, okay, like what can I do?
That's right.
But relating takes a level of selflessness that is not easy to do subconsciously. You have to, mindfully be selfless and totally in that other person's world, which we can
Yeah.
never really understand, but we can always try.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about sources of inspiration. I know you mentioned art, and I didn't know that about you, but learning that is really cool. I would actually like to hear a little bit more about that, but talk a little bit about sources. Where do you get inspiration from?
Oh man. Life, honestly, life and Mother Nature is so beautiful, and I try and learn from what the world is doing because the Earth just knows, and we can't beat her, and she knows all the lessons and history, of course, and closer to home is like my family. I'm inspired by all of them, and especially my mother. She's been like my pillar. Um, because she sacrificed and has lived through so much for us to better our lives, like probably many of our parents have. So learning from my elders and, like you said, just trying to listen, I guess, to anything and have everything be a teacher, whether it's my, conversation at the grocery store with the cashier telling me about his life. And I was like, okay, I learned something today.
Ah,
Or just read the book, right? So
that's
just trying
cool.
to find the lesson in everything.
That's so cool. The most inspiring people I have talked to say that same thing. They're
Really?
like, Aaron, I find inspiration everywhere, and I think that is such a huge lesson for all of us, myself included. Like, you don't have to have one thing to find it. You could find it anywhere. It could
Mm-hmm.
be a person, like you said, it could be a book, could be art, could be a sport. Like, I love hearing that. That's so refreshing to know that that's possible. It's possible to go find it anywhere.
You don't even have to walk. I mean, walk out of your house. It's like right there. There's always something.
But I
It's like
think the
living its whole other life right there in front of you. You're like, well, there's nothing to do with me. There's a whole other thing going on here. That's really cool.
Yes, but I think it's a choice though, right? You have to choose to look at it like that, right?
Fair.
Otherwise that flashlight starts to go other places, right?
Yeah. Fair. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I admire that you make that choice, and I hope that this conversation inspires others to make that choice too.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I really appreciate you building a platform for that. I mean, there's so much importance in that, and people are constantly looking for like fulfillment and what their place is in this world and whatever. But when you really try and relate and interact with it, then you will find that you know, you're settled. You're
Yeah.
okay. Things will
Yeah.
be okay.
Especially now, I feel like sustain on that for 1 second. I feel like a lot of people, and again, I'm me too, but I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are looking for it outside, and really it's inside, and
Mm-hmm.
we can use things outside to help spark it inside, right?
We're really just using everything as this big ass mirror. Like
Yeah.
one of it, we're probably gonna look into one of them, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna be like, oh, wow, it came right back to me. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's knowledge. So building on family for a second, I was listening to your interview with Rob Aspero on the Viral Volley podcast, and you had mentioned that you have three younger siblings and that they are your inspiration to play. And I really
Yeah.
love that. I wanted to just kind of build on that a little bit. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, being the older sister, I've always had that like mama bear looking out for them feeling. But I mean, we all have our own individual experience, and I've just got to watch them grow from when they were really young, and all I would want to do is be a role model for them. And especially in this life and sport that I live, I can't physically be there for them anymore, or have been for the past couple of years. I kind of moved out when I was 18 and haven't gone back, so I haven't been in the day-to-day lives. But if I can show in my actions how much they mean to me, and what they they show me, they teach me so much, and just want to show them how that I'm trying to reflect it out to the world. It's just this connection to them and just wanting to make them proud. Yeah.
That's so cool. I'm an only child. I don't have brothers or sisters, but I when I th- when I heard you say that, it reminded me of my parents. Like, I love my parents, and I do feel like family or connection to your family is a very important part of living an inspired life. And
Mhm.
so playing for other people, like as athletes, we're always like playing for a coach, or playing for, it's usually a coach or a teammate, playing for a team. But bringing it
Mm-hmm.
back to your family, playing for my family kind of holds a deeper meaning, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because it's like those people are the ones that are gonna always be proud, no
Yeah,
matter what you do. Like
right,
myself now, like I'm just as proud as if you won that gold medal. But there's
right.
that level of now I'm taking it all the way, and I'm gonna show you all the work you've done and what you've done for me is gonna be worth it for all of us. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like that unconditional love, and um yeah, and that just made me think of unconditional, like unconditionally happy, unconditionally inspired, unconditionally successful. What does that mean to you, being unconditional?
Wow. I mean, that is something I think we would all have to work at every day. It's gonna be this like it's not like a goal, like a point you reach. I think it's a constant thing you work on because it's hard. We're imperfect, we're humans. But unconditional, I think, like you said, and like the theme of all of this has been, is just when it comes from something the most stable, which is yourself. That's all you know. Uh, and when you can thrive off of your own energy, then I think it gets pretty close to unconditional.
Yeah. No, totally though. I love that because, okay, just relating that to sport, specifically beach volleyball, like there's a lot of different conditions out there, right? I mean, the natural conditions, the sun, the wind, the all that kind of stuff, and then the crowd, and then the energy, like all of it. There's so many conditions, right? But I think a big lesson that I'm trying to convey and learn too. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the master of this. I'm just a curious person about it.
I'm here
Um,
with you on that.
yeah, I'm just like delving into it, but I think the goal is to be unconditional in your pursuit, and unconditionally stoked, unconditionally focused, like you mentioned focus before, like that, just the idea of being unconditional. It's like whatever's going on around us is like, yeah, like you said, I'm aware of it, but I got my flashlight right here.
Yeah. And I think another way I had interpreted that for the first time when I first started playing was just like not having excuses. So it's so easy to be like, oh, we didn't play well because it was so windy and the sun was in my eyes and all this. And then
Right.
you're just like, are you proud of that? Like, really, is that really what you're going to blame it on? Or is there something deeper? So in just the same way where if you're not happy in your life or you're not happy on the court, are you going to pick an excuse, as external thing, or are you going to really dive deep and see what's going on and control that? So I
Yeah.
like that. I like unconditional.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's like so easy to point a finger and be like, oh, the sun, or oh, my partner, or oh, that person, or
Yeah.
oh, this, or the president, or the news, or whatever. It's like so easy to do that, But that idea of being unconditional, of like, yeah, I see all those things, but I'm unconditionally focused on me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just feel like you do that naturally. I think that's it, seriously, you even said you're a vessel for that to come through you, and that's beautiful. I
Oh,
think that's the goal. I think we should all be a vessel for that to come through us.
we all are, but I thank you. Thank you for that. That's so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, but I agree. I think we all are, but it's up to us to kind of remember that and to choose that over and over and over all day long, right?
All day long. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's work. It's work,
it's
but it's
work.
worth it. At least you can say it's worth it. So
Yes.
no one wants to put in work and then get nothing out of it. So this is a guaranteed you're gonna be good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's a really good segue to the lightning round. Let's jump right into that. How do you define success, and what does being successful mean to you?
Um, I would say finding fulfillment. That's how I would say it.
Love that. Love that. How do you consider the idea of failure?
Ooh, failure. I think it would be denying yourself an opportunity, something like
What do you
that.
mean by that?
I think when you get in your own way, and so just as much as like you can push yourself forward, you can pull yourself back. And I think it has nothing to do with your circumstances, your upbringing, your background. It's very much on you to trust your mind and its creativity to formulate and manifest these things for you. And if you don't allow that even a little bit, don't even give yourself a chance. I wouldn't say it was like failure, but I think that is the closest thing. Because really, when things don't go right, it's just a lesson. We move on. But that would be tough. You don't even give yourself a chance, you know.
That's wisdom, Brandie. That's awesome. What are the most successful habits that you do on a consistent basis?
I think diligence and routine, um, doing things when you don't want to. I don't know what the word is for that. I think listening and being an observer and a student. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, discipline. That's like, right? Like,
Discipline, that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I never liked the word, but that's definitely what you need.
All right. So this is kind of fun. So every guest that comes on, I think of a word that best describes them. And I would like you to come up with your own word as well. But I'm going to tell you first what I came up with for you. I had a few different things that came up when I was thinking about this.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you the first one, and then I'm going to tell you this phrase that I came up with. So the first one I thought of you was dominant. You know, being the best, getting the honors of having the best blocker award. Like that's, you know, that's a huge honor. That's in the world, you know. I mean, that's amazing. But also having a chance to watch you play firsthand in practice, you know, and watch you operate and watch you learn and watch you dominate. You know, like you can do it kind of easily. Does that resonate?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I'll take it. Thank you. I want that. I want
Yeah.
that for me. So I'm glad someone sees it.
You know, I remember I coached you for one practice,
Yeah.
which was cool. But I'm not your coach anymore. I'm your friend. But I would say, think of yourself as dominant as you play. You know, even this weekend, like go dominate. You're dominant.
I love that. I love that.
The good. The other, okay, so that's volleyball related, but I came up with this other phrase because I was thinking about you, and the more I learned about you, this phrase came up. All right,
Mhm.
so here it is:
I'm ready.
infectiously, enthusiastically, authentically optimistic.
Ah, those are sick. Oh wow, that's like the nicest thing anyone could say. Oh,
Cool.
thank you. Wow, thank you.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, yes, like that's cool. That's cool. I want those things for everyone and for myself. And yeah, to hear that, radiate off me in some level, I'm honored. I really am.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, because
Yeah.
I think that's your best quality. The volleyball stuff and winning and all that kind of stuff is great, but to be uh maybe the keyword in there is enthusiastically. To be
Mm-hmm.
enthusiastically a vessel, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It's one thing to be a vessel, but like I'm a yogi. I consider myself a yogi, and you know yogis tend to stay quiet and within themselves, you know. But to have that and then have it enthusiastically radiate, I think is pretty cool.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, that made my week. I'm good. Thank you.
Cool. What about a word that comes up to self-describe yourself? I know it's kind of hard on the spot, but
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things I thought of was authentic because I really, really do try to, stay in my own lane and do my own thing and not really get peer pressured. I've never really been peer pressured before, but I don't know. I think,
authentic is great.
yeah, we'll stick with that.
Yeah. I think, and just a quick aside, I think what the world is like seeking right now, if I could like feel the world's energy, is authenticity. Like the world is like,
Mm,
give me the real you right now, the real you, not the conditional you, not the
right, right.
like, the real, the core value you. I feel like
Absolutely.
the world is like, give me that person.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looking for connection, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
to each other, to this world, to
Yeah.
themselves.
I think so too. And even the people that may not seem like they are, I think they
Yeah,
really are.
they really are.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than the ones that are asking for it. You know.
Maybe. Maybe. Okay. I like that. All right. A few more here. What is the most
Okay.
important lesson that has helped shape who you are today?
Mm. I'm laughing because I'm trying to like say this nicely, but it was one of those like life is not fair, and like I don't know how to say that nicely, but it came like in high school. I was like crying, and I was having like a million things were going on, and then like I was stressed, and I went to my mom, and I just wanted her to console me, and all she said was like, you know what, that's life, and she's like, that shit happens
Right.
and you're gonna get through it, and guess what, something else is gonna come up again and you're gonna have to get through it again. So it's just that reality that like, man, challenges are okay, and now I've just learned to love them and expect them and want them in my life versus trying to hide and run from them, because it's like that's the way it goes and I'm gonna be okay. I can go into things 110% better and more confident because I know like even if it doesn't go right, I was ready for it. So I
Mm,
think it's like a mix of all that, like loving and expecting adversity and challenge in your life,
I love that.
embracing
I love that, Brandy. That's great. It made me think of something. If there's ever conflict, which there's a lot of conflict in the world right now, but if there's ever conflict in our own little worlds, I think the
it.
very first thing to think is it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this. I'm gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's kind of a nice grounding energy, you know?
Yeah, like nothing lasts, and why would like the worst things last? Like
Yeah.
that would be terrible, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be
Totally.
okay.
Love
Yeah.
that. Can you share the biggest challenge you've been on through your journey? Been through. Sorry. Can you share the biggest challenge you've been through on your journey?
Mm. Um, I think it's a paradox. I think it's a little bit of self confidence because of my, in the sport, especially because of my late start in the game and not coming from a volleyball family, not
Mm,
having that typical start, not having, the tools and the resources and the coaches, and, feeling like I wasn't enough and I just wasn't set up the way other people were, and having to play catch up all the time. And I just
mm,
felt like, I had to just, I was in be there. So I could be pretty confident in myself because I felt like there was no one else there for me, which was hard, but also has rewarded me in so many ways. But I think it's a process though. As a woman, you're playing a sport. You're half naked. There's your body. You're exposed. You're vulnerable. You have to be confident in that too. And we're women. We're objectified in so many ways, but finding that grounding confidence to turn it into something that's a beautiful feminine energy is what I also had to learn. So it's so much growing as a female athlete, as a woman, as a sister, as a daughter. So finding that self confidence from there.
that's
Yeah.
great. Now, going back to Rob Aspero's interview, I wrote this down. You had said that beach volleyball is a challenge. It puts you in a vulnerable situation physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
But it's so, but you know what, Brandy? It's so cool to have that challenge. That's such a blessing, you know?
People don't get the opportunity to look
Yeah.
at themselves like that very
Right.
often.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, with a, well, on a regular season, it would be almost on a week to week or every other week basis, right? That you have that opportunity, or in season, I should say. But you know, but now that it's all kind of compacted in this 3-week event series, you know, it's kind of freaking awesome that you get that, you know, like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
Oh my God, like a shot to the face. Like it's
Yeah.
like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I did want to talk about Olympic stuff, but I kind of want to keep going here on this list. Let's keep moving on this. How important is the idea of having impact to you?
Mm. I think it's like, you know, impact. It, sure, yes, because it can come in so many different ways. So
Mm,
I don't think you have to, be seeking that for yourself if that's not what your route is. But
right.
in some way or another, influencing others if you have that platform and voice, I totally support that. Yeah.
Well, could you just take a moment and expand on that, like heading into the Olympics and representing a country? Like that's pretty impactful, right?
Yeah, it is. And I totally have found the beauty of sport and volleyball in my life in this current moment because of the platform I've been able to grow here and represent Canada. That has been a multitude of things, and represent little mixed girls that are coming up in this world, and and like my family, and not being your typical athlete, trying to represent the alternative sides of things, and I've chosen to take that on because that's what I relate to. But I hope that there are others that relate to it. So if the Olympics is the stage I get to say that, then wow, I'm lucky.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're impacting so many people. I mean, just off the top of my head, like, I mean, being a multiracial athlete and having the success that you've had already, and just the way you carry yourself, I think is impacting many people. Not just because of those things; those are just little aspects of you, but because we're judged on all those things a lot. I think that you're taking that and you're saying, yeah, I'm going to. Maybe you're not like directly saying that, but with your actions and with the way you choose to live, you're saying, yeah, I am going to be a positive impact.
Thank you. I appreciate you seeing me like that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and why? From whom? And I know you said your mom said what she said.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Can you think of any coaches or any other people out there that have offered some advice for you?
Oh man, I'm so bad at this, but there's just been so much good. I think it's always come down to the people who actively, it's weird. The best that coaches and teammates have done for me is by taking a step back and letting me be me. And there's that space that is so important and respected by me, because I know that space is coming with trust, and I know it comes with wanting the best for me, and putting a standard and a challenge there for me. And so it's within that that would, I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah.
but I think in everything, in a challenge and a coach, and everyone always wants to, like, tell the athlete what to do and how to say, and the athletes are looking for all advice, but it's just kind of creating that relationship where it's like, let me grow and I'll watch you and I'll help you.
That's awesome. Let me grow. I love that. Speaking of coaches, I just want to bring Coach Evie up again because I'm close with Coach Everett Matthews, and he's just he's a good person, he's a good dude, great coach. But I did reach out to him before this interview, and I want to tell you what he said, because I
Oh,
said,
he's my favorite. He used to send me text messages to hype me up, like the
yeah,
night before. I'm like, I need to get to sleep. Like, I can't do
yeah,
this right now.
yeah. So I talked to him, and we talked a little bit about you and your journey and everything. But just to sum it all up, I said, what could you say that could sum up, Brandie? And he said, she has a beautiful spirit.
Oh my
Period.
God.
That's pretty cool,
Oh,
right?
that's
Out of all the
really,
volleyball stuff, all the winning, all the losing, knowing that, like, that's That's awesome. I mean, that's why I have you on here, because that's what it's all about. You could be a freaking 5-time gold medalist, but if you don't
Wow.
have that beauty in your spirit, then it's like, okay, cool. But knowing that you have that first, sky's the limit.
Wow. Wow. I'm so lucky for this moment. Thank you to both of you. Honestly, like when he was like, "Oh, what?" Sorry, I'm keeping calling you
Yeah.
Wax, Aaron. I'm like switching.
That's fine.
But
My friends
Wax
call me
is
Wex.
coming.
That's cool.
He's like, "Wax coming," and then you came in. You're just like all vibes, energy, good, positivity. I was like, "Damn, this guy's really coming in." So, oh, thank you for sharing some of that love with me today. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when I got a chance to coach with you guys or to help you guys out, anytime I try to help anyone out, the volleyball stuff is always secondary. It's always vibes first. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like, how can I help guide the light in someone else first? And then the craft is like secondary to that, So that's what I try to
Right.
do with you guys. But to me, like that's what it's all about. I learned that early, and I'm trying my best to do that now, especially through this.
Ah, love it. I love
Cool.
it.
Well, this is a great question for you. I only have a few left. What is your ultimate why?
Hmm. I want to make my family proud, my country proud, my partner proud. But I also just want to set a goal for myself and achieve something. I just want to follow through with something and say I can do that. Add,
Yeah.
push my.
Yeah. Well, but that's awesome. So many people don't have that, like that's a blessing. That's a blessing that you have that. Like that's, to me, that's a core foundation of who you are. It's a core value. That's beautiful. Looking back on your journey, is there anything you wish you could change?
Woo. Ultimately, no, because it's gotten me to where I am. Obviously, that's how life is. But
Yep.
I think if I could talk to the younger me, I would tell, and this is what I do tell younger athletes, is just to take more risks. Um, those doors open in ways you didn't even know, and you find out things about yourself. You meet people, you connect. Whatever the thing happens, it happens because you take that first step. So that's one. Maybe a little
That's
more risk.
that's beautiful. Last question. You mentioned fulfillment earlier, but can you just expand on that a little bit and talk a little bit about what fulfillment really means to you?
I think to me it means to be deeply happy and satisfied no matter what. Yeah. Yeah. Deeply.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah. Amen
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, Brandie, this has been amazing. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity and that you took a little time away from, I don't know, were you watching qualifiers? I don't know what you're doing, but
Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
was that? I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time as you get ready for this tournament, and best of luck in the AVP this weekend. And just keep shining, and you are a beautiful spirit, and I hope that you continue to allow that to come through you, like you said, and be a vessel and inspire others as you continue to do that.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm so grateful for this platform and these wise words you're bringing and listening and talking and reflecting. These are so great. And I hope that many others follow in your suit and continue to follow you, and love and light for you only.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Right back at you. Where can people find you and learn more about you?
Social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of it will be, I guess, attached to this link or
Yeah,
wherever you'll
I could put a
find
link.
it.
Yeah.
Perfect. That would be great.
Awesome. Hey, best of luck. Go be the dominant player that you are this weekend.
I will. I will carry that with me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brandie. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on Within the Game podcast. Visit withinthegame.com for show notes and links on everything we talked about today. You can also subscribe to the mailing list, which will give you exclusive content from each guest, as well as more resources to help you stay inspired in and out of your game. Follow us on Instagram at Within the Game Podcast.